government by the money power will be legitimized. The new law will create inflation whenever the trust wants inflation. From now on, depressions will be scientifically created. The Federal Reserve Act, also called the Glass-Owen Bill, was passed by the Senate on the evening of December 23, 1913, by a vote of 43 to 25, with 27 senators absent or abstaining. President Woodrow Wilson signed it into law 1 hour later. The fate of the United States was sealed and delivered into the hands of the European banking aristocracies. The Federal Reserve is neither federal nor does it have enough gold to back up what it lends. The Fed is a cartel of banking families, dominantly European, and lend money to the United States and forces citizens of the United States to pay the interest with their tax dollars. Barry Goldwater, the late senator from Arizona who ran against Lyndon Johnson in 1964 for president, said, "Most Americans have no real understanding of the operation of international moneylenders. The bankers want it that way. We recognize in a hazy sort of way that the Rothschilds and the Warburgs of Europe and the houses of J.P. Morgan, Kuhn Loeb and Company, Schiff, Lehman, and Rockefeller possess and control vast wealth. How they acquire this financial power and employ it is a mystery to most of us. International bankers make money by extending credit to governments. The greater the debt of the political state, the larger the interest returned to the lenders. The national banks of Europe are actually owned and controlled by private interests. The federal government of the United States does not own any portion of the Federal Reserve, nor can common citizens own stakes in this cartel. The Federal Reserve does not publish audited accounts, but is paid over $150 billion a year by the American taxpayers. This central bank regularly creates periods of inflation or deflation in a scientific method that creates enormous profits for these banking families at the expense of over 99% of the population. Today, Chase Bank, J.P. Morgan Rockefeller-owned, and Citibank Rockefeller-owned, have the majority control of shares of the Federal Reserve. In concert with the Rockefellers, the Habsburg elite, which included the soon-to-be-named Windsors, premeditated a world war to consolidate their power. The Ludlow massacre was an early indication of the length to which the Rockefellers would go to achieve their goals. Rockefeller lusted after the Russian Baku oil fields owned by the nobles. However, Tsar Nicholas, on Rasputin's advice, was not willing to involve Russia with the Rockefellers. Rasputin also counseled the Tsar against going to war with Germany, which was also Habsburg-controlled, and for this attempts were made on Rasputin's life. Kaiser Wilhelm, the last emperor of Germany and king of Prussia, was a first cousin to King George V of England, of the British-German Saxe-Coburg-Gotha family in Britain, soon to be renamed as the Windsors. Wilhelm's mother was Queen Victoria's daughter. Kaiser Wilhelm's personal banker was Max Warburg, who had helped manipulate the Federal Reserve into being. Wilhelm's leading advisor was Otto von Bismarck, who was the leading German Freemason. The point of the war from this German and British-German leadership, the Saxe-Coburg-Gotha-Warburg-Del Banco family, was to centralize control of Europe and run the continent from their central banking sites in London. The cabal already financially controlled Great Britain and recently gained large control of the United States through the Federal Reserve Act. Now they sought to reorganize Europe in a strategy towards globalization in the 20th century. The Habsburg-Rockefeller cabal plotted to set up a group to be known as the Council on Foreign Relations, through which they could orchestrate internal commissions within a new organization, the League of Nations, and set its agenda. In this fashion, the Habsburg-Rockefeller cabal could, with near invisibility, originate binding treaties between nations leading to their increased control of a host of countries around the world. The cabal was completely willing to commit mass murder and genocide in order to achieve this end. Archduke Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, was the initial victim, assassinated by a Serbian Freemason agent working for Habsburg interests in order to create an excuse for Germany to wage war. Over in the U.S., during